recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. 455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right part to keep your vehicle running. And backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.
Recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. 455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right part to keep your vehicle running. And backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.
It's 4:30, and I'll call this work session to order. And items to be discussed today, we're going to talk about, first of all, item A. 2A is City Council goals and objectives for the City Council. And council members, you have a copy of goals and objectives in your packet. I think Carol has differentiated the comments that you made. I think the green items that are on the list are items that we felt had been completed this past year. The red items are items submitted by Al Atkins. He submitted those approximately 3 weeks ago, Al, I guess, something like that. And then Ben submitted some that are shown in blue. And I concurred with a number of those. I thought they were good suggestions. And Tim contacted me today, and he has some goals, and I guess he's stuck on a phone, but he'll be here for a few minutes. So I told him that Carol had her laptop, and she could add the goals as we work through them. And thank you very much. And I just want to remind everybody that these goals and objectives, we do need to adopt these tonight if we can, because they're used to provide the city council. We're in budget hearings, and they're used to provide guidance on budget and policy for the city staff. So I'd open it up for discussion. Does anybody have anything they'd like to? Would you like to talk about your goals, Ben? Or?
Sure, yeah. So,
oh, here's Tim. So he has some new goals, as I mentioned.
so the two that I added, I'll just start with the green space goal there. Consider adding small amenities to vacant lots as a way to get green space in our neighborhoods. This is one that someone came by my house and talked with me about, actually. And I thought the suggestion was a good one. It's a low-hanging fruit, I feel like. If the city has vacant lots, we could drop a picnic table on there, put up a little canopy. You know, nothing expensive, not asking for, playgrounds and those kinds of things, but it's just a way to add a little green space to the community with not a lot of money. The other goal I wanted to add here, or third column, whatever you want to call it, sub-goal, is to evaluate the plausibility of a fiber network as infrastructure. And this is something I've thought about for a lot of years. Every time I see a street opened up for maintenance work, I keep asking myself, why don't we put fiber in that hole that we just dug? And right at first it wouldn't mean much, but over time, before long, you'd have a lot of the city lit up, and that fiber doesn't cost a lot. Opening up the street is what costs a lot. And it just feels like something we could do potentially as an investment for our future. Having a fiber network like that that we could allow Jews to operate would be very attractive to industry looking to come here.
I think that's an excellent goal. I think probably Juice would be involved in that.
Yep. I think there's a lot to look at here. It's complicated. That's why I put down as the goal to evaluate it. Okay. Because it's hard to know exactly how that would play out, but I do think we need to investigate.
Okay. And didn't you have another goal that you submitted?
I think that was just the two.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And Al, you want to discuss yours briefly?
Sure, Mayor. Thank you. I had added or recommended some changes on goal number 1. Instead of just focusing on roadways, any infrastructure we build, we need to adopt the same mentality to build it that lasts. Number 2, upgrade and improve our aging water infrastructure, which obviously we are talking about, and phased replacement of the city distribution system, the underground water lines that are 50, 60, 70, 80 years old that are nearing the end of their useful life, and possibly as a funding mechanism, we might consider a water line replacement fee monthly on people's bills to fund the replacement of the aging infrastructure. Moving down to number 3, promote a sense of community. I think we've talked about opportunities that encourage. What I think we as a body, we as a city need to do is establish what type of community we want to be. And present that and educate that to the citizens, and all try to work together to strive for it. I mean, we all have people that complain about overgrown grass and dumpy-looking houses, so proactive code enforcement. You know, if we set a standard of a community we'd like to be, then everybody can drive towards it. And moving down to number 5, I think we need to review, categorize, and prioritize the city's core services, the ancillary services, and things, the type of NGOs we're going to fund, because when we do the annual funding, a lot of times it's same folks year after year after year. And we should take a close look at that, of whether or not we should ask them to try to stand on their own as they develop, whether it should be seeding funds. And finally, on the improved airport, I know we had, back in the day when I was on the Airport Advisory Board, we had an airport plan developed. And the comprehensive plan is also talking about developing around the airport, but we have to be very cognizant in our planning to balance the needs of all the tenants, because as we know, there's security measures that our largest tenant needs out there. And one other thing that I had sent in later, and that maybe the email didn't go through, I think a goal back in building infrastructure that lasts or somewhere is to add on the reinstatement of impact fees. I know the study is ongoing right now, but hopefully we should get that done this year, and we need to reinstate the impact fees.
We certainly need to look at that.
Yeah. And those are my thoughts.
Okay. And Tim, I think in our conversation today, you said that you had some added goals you wanted to add.
Yeah, but I also had under improve airport, maybe pursue more smaller businesses that do the airplane maintenance and retrofitting, kind of like what we see, or if you go around left field, you see a lot of hangars that park a very large plane for a number of months and retrofit things. Just as we extend taxiways and whatnot, I think we should plan for large enough airplanes that could fit in larger hangars in the extended areas.
We can add that. I think maybe staff can help us with some of the language for that. Summer, you think? I'm not sure, but
Just, I guess, a general. I'm just looking at how it's worded right now in the packet.
there's a portion I think of what you mentioned in appraisal of that to assess needed upgrades and the layout plan, but I don't know you.
I guess be business friendly for other possible business tenants or something along that line.
Okay. So, where would the council like to go from here? Because we have an item on the agenda tonight to adopt these goals and objectives. Are you, is the council satisfied with these at this time? Do you want to, any further discussion? What would you like to?
No, I'm satisfied. We can move forward.
Okay. Okay. Carol, did you capture the last one with Tim, you think? So, I guess then with that, I certainly concur with some of them. I think when I suggested build infrastructure the last, I didn't include roadway in there. It got added at some point in time, so I certainly concur with that. I'm going to be addressing later on tonight goal number 2, which is the really our water supply, the security of our water supply, et cetera, and appointing an ad hoc committee to do that. So that's certainly, we're going to address many of those issues in the upcoming year. And I like all the other goals, so I'm perfectly fine with it. Mr. Freeman, how do you feel?
I'm perfectly fine with
Okay,
it.
to move forward. Okay.
But I have a suggestion that, it had been bothering me about. I know a while back that the city funded for kids out of school in June, that they were funding money for them to work and do things and when they out of school. Is that program still going on, or they? It happened a long time ago. You're not familiar with that? No, I was thinking that the city used to fund when kids out of school in the summertime, they would help them find jobs in the city to work, to keep them busy.
That was through the workforce.
Huh?
That's through the workforce.
That's in the workforce?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I don't remember any funding for that.
It wasn't?
I don't think that was funding from the city. It was from the federal government.
It would-
Because
oh,
I
okay.
hired a bunch of those people over that
Oh, okay.
summer.
All right. I didn't know.
But that was discontinued about a decade ago.
Okay.
So I
All
don't
right.
think there's any, but the city wasn't involved in that.
It wasn't involved?
financing.
Okay. I'm
No.
wrong. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else from any of the council members? So you ready to move on with these goals, and we will adopt these later on in the actual meeting? Is everybody okay with that, if they are?
Good with
Okay.
it.
Then we'll move along with the department budget presentations, and the first one is Fire and Rescue. Chief Powell, could you come? And we have those presentations on your, they're actually included in your packet, so if you move forward, you can see those. And thank you for accommodating that. We won't have any, we'll be able to see those without straining to look at the televisions.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. I appreciate the opportunity tonight. Y'all allow me to speak, tell you a little bit about our department and some of the budget goals that we have for this year. Starting off is just it's an organizational chart, shows you how we're structured. Your top 4 positions there is going to be the Fire Administration Office. Everything else will be the rank and file, or the guys that are at the stations. We run 3 shifts, A, B, and C shifts. They work 24 hours on, they have 48 hours off, except for the admin personnel who work more of a standard schedule throughout the week. Services provided. Obviously, we are the fire department, so we provide fire suppression. Everybody knows that. Moving past that, though, some of the things that I don't think a lot of people understand, fire investigation. So we're required by our code of ordinances to investigate each fire within the city of Greenville. And that's done by our fire marshal's office. That office also is responsible for code enforcement. We've adopted 2018 fire code through that office here recently, I think about a year or 2 ago. Before that, we were, I think, about 10 years behind. I think we were still operating under the 2006 fire code, so we were way behind there, and that was a good effort by the fire department and council to adopt that, so we certainly appreciate that. The next thing you'll see there is emergency medical first response. So we do run with the ambulance. Some of you might think we run the ambulance ourselves, but we don't. That's actually the hospital that provides that service through the Hunt Memorial Hospital District. But we do run first response with them. We're contracted. It's about $25,000 a year is what they pay us to run that. It doesn't cover our costs, but it does give us something. And it is a service that, I personally feel like I've said before, I personally feel like we should be providing anyway. So it does help offset some of those costs. The next thing is technical rescue services. So what that is rope rescue, any other technical rescue. That could be trench rescue, confined space rescue. And so you don't see a lot of that, but unfortunately with Greenville, we have to pretty much be trained in everything. We're out here kind of on an island, and we don't have a lot of the luxuries that the Metroplex departments have, where one fire department can specialize in let's say, hazardous materials, and the neighboring department can specialize in technical rescue, and then they just mutual aid off each other. That's a luxury that we don't have out here because we are, our closest paid mutual aid department is at least 30 minutes away. Quite honestly, it's closer to 45 minutes away when you start talking about technical rescue and hazmat services. So we do have a lot that we have to stay trained in for that very reason. I just talked about hazardous materials. We're a Type 2 hazardous materials team. So we can do quite a lot of things as a Type 2. When I say Type 2 and Type 3 and Type 1 would be the highest level of service. Hazmat is extremely expensive, and that requires a lot of equipment that we just quite honestly can't afford to purchase and upkeep. But Type 2, we can handle just about anything. A Type 1, let's say we had a train derailment here, a Type 1 could readily respond to that, where a Type 2 can't. Luckily for us, most of your train services, including Kansas City, who comes through our town, they have Type 1 hazardous materials response teams, so they can handle that for us. The next there is emergency management. Our department is responsible for coordinating the emergency management of the city. Community risk reduction. So that's a new avenue for us. And what that does, that identifies and prioritizes local risk and develops strategies to mitigate those risks. And some of those things that we do there that you probably haven't heard about are programs such as Remember When. That's a program that's designed for the elderly population, and it focuses on fire and fall protection. So we'll go out and identify that vulnerable population and try to educate them through our various programs. There towards your right, you'll see we're members of some USAR urban search and rescue teams, Task Force 1 and Task Force 2. What those are FEMA rescue teams that they enable us to get a lot of experience in our technical rescues. We don't do a lot of them here, but through those teams, we gain that experience, not only responding with them, but also the knowledge that the various team members bring with them. And secondly, there at the bottom, we're a member of the Texas Intrastate Fire Mutual Aid System. I think most of you have heard when we go to some of these fires in Texas, and most recently, we've gone out to California a couple of times and responded out there. That is through TIFMAS. And so, once again, we gain a ton of knowledge that we probably wouldn't gain if we just stayed here on our island, like I like to say. So, extremely proud of the guys that put the time in for that training and the time away from home. A lot of times when we go on those deployments, it's 2 to 4 weeks that they're away from home. So, proud of the work that they do there. Some of the other community services that we provide, Drug-Free Greenville, very active in Drug-Free Greenville. I don't know if you know about the Hero Cards program. Hopefully you do. Also, Shattered Dreams program. That's a very, very big program that we're a part of, along with other agencies. And it makes a huge impact on our high school kids and really gives them, I believe, something tangible when it comes to drunk driving and what that can mean for them or anybody else involved. If you've never seen that program, I encourage you to look up what Drug-Free Greenville does in those programs. Secondly, their Juvenile Fire Setter program. This is the 4-week intervention program which serves children 2 to 17. And what we do, usually those are identified by their parents, or sometimes the school districts will come to us. We bring the kids in. We have 2 trained personnel in our fire prevention office that sit down with the parents and the children and discuss the consequences or the potential consequences of playing with fire. Smoke detector program. This is a great program that we started with the Red Cross several years ago. You know, we used to have people that would come in the office and ask, where can we get smoke detectors? When I say people, our vulnerable population, people that couldn't afford it or people that couldn't install them themselves. And for the longest time, we didn't have a good answer for that. So we decided to start looking for avenues to fix that. The Red Cross has a great program where they supply the smoke detectors to us. And once we have those smoke detectors, we will go out free of charge, install those smoke detectors, and sometimes that's 1, sometimes that's maybe 4, up to 4 or 5. We identify how many they need in their house, and so we'll put those in. What we're starting to see now is the batteries and those are starting to go out, so we're not putting as many new ones in, but we are going out and servicing those smoke detectors that we put in 3 to 4 years ago. Another one is fire extinguisher training. This one mainly targets our commercial customers. We'll go out at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, and train their personnel on how to properly select and use fire extinguishers. Up until 2 years ago, we had to use real fire extinguishers, which that's not great for the environment. It makes a huge mess. And Fortunately, Firehouse Subs gave us a grant 2 years ago to buy a simulator, an electronic simulator, where we can go out with an electronic simulator now and still provide that service in a much greener footprint, if you will. CPR program, another program that we didn't have up until a few years ago. I think it's about 5 years now that we've had it. We provide CPR not only to our citizens, but also our city staff. And so I think that's extremely important to be able to have everybody trained up for CPR and AED use, not only for our citizens, but our city staff. And it's nice to see the response we get when it's time for those to be renewed. Some of the accomplishments this year. Obviously, it's been very challenging for us. We've got lots of goals and things we want to get done. This year was really almost survival mode, it seemed like, for us, as it was, I'm sure, for everybody. But spent a lot of time on COVID response. Spent a lot of time giving vaccinations. We gave over, in conjunction with the hospital, Sheriff's Department, Police Department. Hope I'm not leaving anybody out, but it was definitely, well, certainly a group effort. And we gave almost 22,000 shots to our citizens over about a 4-month period. So extremely proud of that. You know, that's most of the guys that signed up for the fire department would have never thought they would be out there giving shots. And so when it came time to talk to them and say, look, you know, this is obviously something we have to do. Who else is going to do it? And I just couldn't be more proud of the effort our guys and everybody else that was involved when they stepped up and did this. Another thing that's I'm extremely proud of that we just found out, I believe it was Thursday afternoon, was we did a comprehensive study through our insurance service, or through the insurance service organization, mostly known to most people as ISO. ISO is a tool that a lot of insurance companies use to grade your insurance rates and their liability. We've been a 3 for as long as I can remember, at least I think 12 years, I think is what it is. They came to us about 2 years ago and asked if we'd like to do another study, so we started gathering the data that we needed to complete that study. And this year, we started assimilating all that, and just found out Thursday we went from 3 to a 2, with 1 being the best. So it's a 1 to 10 scale, and we currently are a 2, which I can't remember the exact numbers, but there are very few 1s and there are a few 2, but it really puts us in a good spot compared to a lot of people. So I'm extremely proud of that, and hopefully one day when we do another grading we can get to a 1, but I will most certainly take a 2 and be very happy with it. Secondly, we secured grant funding this year related to COVID, and that's your CARES Act funding that most of you probably already know about, and we've got some more hopefully that's coming our way. We're still waiting for some more guidance from the state. Hopefully that's coming out soon. We're keeping our ears open for that, but still don't have any further information on that. And last, down there, we replaced our fire engine 2. So that's the station that's out on the end of Lee Street. They got a new engine this year. Usually we do a big ceremony, but we put it in service and went on our way. But you know, most of you probably heard me before, I always want to thank y'all so much, because the equipment that we have is second to none. It really is. I have no gripes whatsoever. I'm just extremely thankful for the commitment that previous councils and current council has done for us for over the last 10 plus years since I've been in fire administration. It's been really nice, and I appreciate that. So this goes into a little bit of our calls for service. You'll see an increase year over year, as I think you'll see in most departments. We're all just getting busier. We're getting more and more people, more and more citizens, and just more and more people that visit here. So that translates into more and more calls for service for us.
Chief, what are some of the things that are contained in other?
Gotcha. It's funny, that was asked in our staff meeting, that same question. So if you'll go through there, we've got EMS calls, fires, hazardous conditions, and other. So other would be anything that's not particularly dangerous. Public service calls, cats in a tree, unlocked vehicles, just any, it's all miscellaneous. So in our reporting system, you have those major categories, and under those major categories, numerous subcategories. But other would be things that really just weren't I wouldn't call them an emergency or a dangerous situation, if you will. But there's still calls for service that will go out and try to mitigate whatever problem they have. No. Most of our EMS and rescue calls will be emergency medical calls, not related to vehicle accidents. We have seen an increase in vehicle accidents, but that surely is to be expected with increased traffic. But really, a large majority of those calls will be for emergency medical calls. And if any of you ever want that broken down more specifically, that's extremely easy for me to run those reports if you ever were curious the details.
Just one more final question along these lines. You had mentioned earlier that in the partnership with the hospital, you get a $25,000 stipend to help with the runs, right?
Yes, sir.
Some of the other departments around the state and in other states also bill insurance companies.
Yes, sir.
Do we pursue that at all?
So we used to do that. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. We started doing that practice in, I think, about 2015. Basically, the insurance companies started refusing to pay, and we didn't feel comfortable going after the individual. We always billed the insurance company, and if the insurance company did not pay, we didn't feel like we would go after the individual. So once we stopped doing that, no, sir, we haven't looked at doing that again. But we have done it in the past. And really, the return we got was, it was minimal. It was, best I can remember, around probably $40,000, maybe $50,000 a year. I mean, I don't want to minimize that, but it wasn't as much.
I didn't know if we'd look at it for additional revenue.
And what we billed for was motor vehicle accidents and hazardous materials. So still, we've kind of gotten around hazardous materials now. We don't necessarily bill for our services, but we don't do cleanup either. So if we have a hazardous material spill, we make the owner contact a cleanup company. We just contain it, mitigate any further damage, and then somebody else comes in and cleans the mess up, if you will. All right, moving to administration. So you can see in our administration budget, mostly is personnel. The increase you see there over the last couple of years was the raises, the step plan that we implemented. Other than that, it's flat. We won't have any, there's no anticipated raises this year. So not a lot to talk about there. Operations. I like to put operations in there. You can see they had the same increase, and that was all related to the pay plan that was implemented. But just look how much goes into just for personnel. So our operating budget is nothing compared to what it costs for personnel. We do our very best every year not to increase those expensive. We did see a slight increase this year just because of everything's getting more expensive. It's been really noticeable this year in a lot of our personal protective equipment. I think we saw about a 10% increase in those, and that stuff runs about $2,800 a set, and each person has 2 sets. So that gets really expensive when you start talking about a 10% increase. Same thing with fire prevention. It's mostly just personnel costs. We have 1 person currently in fire prevention. I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute when I get to my requests. But as my budget reflects right now, this is what we have currently. Mainly just personnel costs, supplies. They have a little bit more in there because they're in charge of Fire Prevention Month, and so they do a lot of work there, and they have a lot more supplies. A lot of that stuff's done through donations as well, those. Emergency management. Our emergency management budget consists mainly of Code Red. That's a large majority of it. Also, our COG dues is in there. That's about $3,000 a year. And for our siren that we have at the sports park, we budget about $1,000 for maintenance for it every year. That compiles that budget. So one of the big requests that we have this year is a person or a captain's position in the fire marshal's office. This would be a fire investigator / inspector. Currently, the only person that's in there right now is our fire marshal. That's very challenging for him. As I posted there, since 2015, I went back and looked at these numbers. We've seen a 32% increase in calls for service. Since I've been in the department, there's been no additional personnel in that office. So for 21 plus years, the fire marshal's been doing it. But with the growth that we've seen and the growth that we're predicting, it's just becoming really overwhelming for him. Those of you that know Jake, he is extremely dedicated. I feel like I've got the best staff that I could possibly ask for, and Jake is just about to his breaking point. And so as much as I hate to ask for this, because I know it's an extremely expensive component, but we just really don't have a choice anymore. Once again, there's only one position in there, which Jake is always on call. So anytime there is an investigation, our fire marshal is the one who investigates it. And so really, it's extremely difficult for him to get any time off. We have a few guys that we've trained that are on shift, and we try to use them through overtime as much as we can. It's still a challenge, though, you have to have that dedicated spot. And so Jake does a great job, and I'm so thankful for him. But I think we're just to a time now where we really have to address that. So we'll be asking for that this year. If we got that would increase our budget, including benefits, about $120,000 in that office. It's a captain's level position. So it's an expensive addition, but I think it's definitely warranted for sure. Some of the capital requests that we're looking at, hopefully most of you know already about the public safety communication system. I know we've talked about it a little bit before. If not, we're going to talk a whole lot more about it here coming up in the next few council meetings, I hope. Our plan is we've got some proposals back. We're currently going through those proposals, and we plan to come to the Public Safety Committee as soon as they get assembled and further discuss where we are in that process. What we're looking at right now is an estimated probably 6 to 8 million, maybe 8.5 million, depending on negotiations. It's nothing, we've talked about that before. Those numbers really haven't changed that much, but until we get in negotiations with them, it's hard to pin down a number. So I think that's a fair assumption for now, is $6 to $8.5 million for that system. For those of you who don't know, that system would not only be for police, it'd be police, fire, public works, and parks would also be on that same system. So it would be a truly city-wide system, not just for your public safety departments. Another thing that we're talking about is the replacement of the fire administration. What we'd like to do there is replace fire administration with another administration building, incorporate an emergency operations center in that building, as well as a training facility. So most of you have seen our current fire administration. It was built in 1953. It's very tired and antiquated. So same plan there. Once we get the Public Safety Committee together, we've talked about it once before, but it was in the other Public Safety Committee, and we just think it's only fair to revisit with the new one and try to gauge how they feel about it and hopefully bring it to council in the next few council meetings as well. Thirdly, there is our Truck 5. Our Truck 5 is our 95-foot platform. Those are extremely expensive. This has been in the plan to replace for several years now. We're putting aside $250,000 a year to replace that, and our goal will be to replace that in 2022 or 2023. And last, we've got replace brush 4, and that would cost about $160,000. That's a 2000 model unit that we have currently as brush 4. That's for our wildland firefighting. And that is all I have. Any questions?
Any questions for the Chief? That was an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
And, look forward to talking about the safety communication system.
You bet. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Do you have this position posted?
No, ma'am, it's not approved yet.
Okay.
It's not approved. And so if it was approved, it would actually have to come from within our department because of civil service laws. It would create a trickle-down effect down to our firefighter position, which would come from the outside, but you wouldn't hire directly into that position from the outside, if that makes sense.
Okay.
People would promote up, and then
Yeah.
we would backfill from there.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
So we will be approving that in this budget cycle.
Okay.
If we, I mean, that's when it'll happen.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all very much.
Okay, the next item is Main Street, Doyle.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Main Street is, the division is a program of the National Trust. It's an economic development program based on historic preservation. All right. Greenville just received national accreditation for 2021. It was announced in the last couple of weeks. This award is based on criteria set from the National Main Street City, which is a program of the National Trust. In past years, I don't know what the numbers are this year, but in past years, about 25% of the Main Street cities nationwide received this national recognition. And I look back, this marks our 20th consecutive year we've received it. Our downtown has 5 buildings that's listed on the National Registry and 9 Texas Historic Commission markers. It's really a pretty good sized large downtown with a lot of historic fabric still. Although Main Street hosts these 2 events every year, it takes almost every city department to pull together the Christmas parade, especially on Public Works Department, Watching Streets, our Parks Department, and I'm leaving somebody out, but forgive me if who I'm trying to think of. Parks, Public Works, and police. Police is very heavy on them. Last year, Halloween on the Square, I think we've held it for about 20 years. Got rained out once, but last year, due to the pandemic, we couldn't host our normal Halloween on the Square, so we did a drive-through event. And actually, I thought it was pretty fun. I mentioned before that some of our employees' children were handing out candy. We had an employee with grandchildren out there handing out candy. And this year, Halloween falls on a Sunday, so we're planning to do the same thing. You know, it's hard to get the county involved and do a Halloween event around the square on a weekend. These are just some of the downtown events, downtown festivals that Main Street either host or assist with other city departments. Listed there's the NOLA Fest, which I might say is this Saturday, June 12th, kicking it off at 9 o'clock with craft vendors, farmers market vendors, music from 11 to 6:30-ish, food trucks. Should be a fun event, and that's hosted actually by the Board of Development. The Lee Street Jamboree is it's the same day, September 18th, as the Cotton Patch Challenge bicycle ride. This year, we are bringing back the very popular Emerald City Band in hopes that hopefully it'll bring people downtown to see the band. If nothing else, it's actually going to be an afternoon concert, and where when you have 600 or 700 bicycle riders out, and when they come back, that'll be something to keep them in downtown, we hope. This event's a joint effort between the Parks Department and CBB. Greenville Board of Development has funded the downtown facade grant program since 2011. The awards are awarded by the Main Street Advisory Board. Year to date, this year, they've awarded $38,000. In the picture that you see there on the left, the old McCullough paint, well, the one on the right, they've removed a metal slipcover where McCullough paint was. They've removed stucco from the front of the facade, as well as along Jordan Street. And then the red brick building back behind the old McCullough paint, the 3-story, all of that's going to be loft apartments when we finish, or when the when they finish. On a side note, private sector reinvestment in downtown averages over $1 million per year. That's the private sector reinvestment. Greenville Boutique and Gifts was really not a new business last year, but they relocated from another downtown location. It's probably downsized, but I put it in here because they actually are one of the recipients of a facade grant for that. I think it's a beautiful storefront. And the other building there, Crazy Lots has only been open about 3 weeks, but I think it's, I told somebody, I figured out where they got their name because the number of people they're bringing downtown is kind of crazy. I haven't seen it for a while. The first week when they opened, there was a line of people. They can only allow 40 people in the store with their business at one time. And there was a line of people all the way to Oak Street waiting to get in. The next week, I think it was last week, the line went to King Street and then turned and went towards Washington. So after a couple of weeks of that, the owner went, and he markets about 50 miles out, so he's bringing people from outside of Greenville. For the people waiting in line, he ordered 40 breakfast burritos from the adjacent restaurant at La Catrina Street Tacos. So their great success, they did that on Saturday. They ordered more on Sunday. So their great success in bringing people downtown is helping the small mom and pop restaurant too. 40 burritos is a pretty good order for a small business. A couple of businesses that located in downtown last year, Board of Development assisted or made possible a Mary Puddin Hill right across from the courthouse. At Christmas, they were seeing people from out of town, such as, the owner told me they had people from Paris one day, so I know it's bringing some people to Greenville. There's a new chocolate shop, Cheese Bro and Campbell, inside the Uptown Forum. They've seen new people. So both of these businesses, chocolate shops, I guess, are bringing new people to downtown. After being closed for most of the pandemic year, almost all of 2020, Max American Grill opened last Friday, so we're extremely pleased with that. The other business there, the restaurant, is Empty Glass Steakhouse and Saloon. They have live music every Friday and Saturday night. Some weeks they have it on Thursday. Some weeks they have, I think, karaoke on Wednesday. So I really can't figure out week to week without looking on their website, but usually at least Friday and Saturday night live music in downtown, and sometimes 3 days. Just a few other restaurants that are listed downtown, or excuse me, places you can eat in downtown. The Smokehouse and Market, Smokehouse and Market replaced the Johnson Street Smokehouse name. They sold it last November. That's a family from Pittsburgh. I think they have a Pittsburgh market there. And in the bottom center is the La Catrina Street Tacos. Something special about them, I think, is they bought the business from someone else, tried to open in March, about the same time last year as pandemic hit, and just the fact that they're still in business, I think, is a great achievement. They received a facade grant a few weeks ago, and they will be remodeling the facade in the front. And one of their plans is to build a stage, have live music on the weekends as well. Last year we finished, I think it was in November, we finished a streetscape project, or it was a grant project, replacing a couple of blocks of sidewalk. The 2400 block along the gray building there, 2400 block of Lee on the south side, 2500 block of Lee on the north side, think of Landon Winery across from the courthouse. And something new that we incorporated, or we tried, was solar lighting. I think it's going to work well. I mean, it took me a while to get used to it, but I really liked the different design. But that was some improvements last year. Unfortunately, we had, during the pandemic year, 2 of our raised planters were hit by vehicles. I told Summer after the first one, it never happens. And then here's number two. We have a contract with we have a purchase order presently with a contractor to make pedestrian islands there. And, you know, what it's going to look different, instead of a complete raised planter, I wish that was a color diagram that you see, but there'll be scored concrete, pavers, a couple of benches, trash can, bollards, and then a freestanding planter of some kind for flowers. I talked to the contractor this morning. About 3 weeks ago, he told us he was 2 to 3 weeks out because of all the rain and all. He's still 2 to 3 weeks out, but it's on his list, and we'll get it done soon, we hope. That should be a nice visual improvement to our downtown. Another improvement that we've recently made, we took our farmers market. The guttering had been damaged. We repaired guttering. We repaired one downspout, added a couple more. Our plans are to paint the existing beams, paint the the guttering that was repaired, and then change our farmers market signage. I think that'll help Market Square as well. The capital request for Main Street this year that's the light that we used on our sidewalk project. And the Lux Award that you see, I can't read that from here, but they won Luminary of the Year. This company did. It's developed in Australia. The Lux Award is actually a UK award. They are selling these lights. I know they're used in Los Angeles and many different areas, but I'm pleased with them so far. As far as fiscal year 21-22, we want to just.
How many lights would that?
That was actually only 4 lights. We're not sure of. We can get 4 lights for about $10,000. We're unsure on the installation costs, and that's why it said 15. I would love it if we could, and our plan is to put those down east end of Lee, keep going further east. I would love it if we could turn that into 5 lights or 6 lights, but it just depends on installation cost.
How big of an area does each light illuminate?
Gosh, I don't have that information exactly with me, but we put 3 on a block in front of, I think there's 2 on the side of Max American Grill. There's 3 on the block of Mary Puddin Hill, Landon Winery.
So they're comparable to like a street light?
Yes.
Okay.
And one thing that we like about them, they made improvements to this system even since we bought these. They call it the Stealth, is the model that they use. It's Green Frog Systems. But as you walk up, we can adjust the brightness, but it's designed to where it's maybe at a certain percentage at night, and if it detects motion, it comes on a little bit brighter, and then goes back down after a few minutes. So hopefully, if it doesn't make all night, I think they're doing a good job, but we're not changing, we're not replacing, not taking down the Cobra headlights that we see now. And I know that we got a presentation that Juice hopes to make LED lights. So our existing Cobra heads might go to LED, and these are just pedestrian lights to add to it for safety. Anyway, we hope to continue visual improvements 21-22. Just small improvements can make a great difference. When the comp plan is adopted, we hope to follow the comp plan. And one other thing I wrote down there is just, this is another hope. The program that I think has done a really good job in downtown is the facade grant program. So if that's still something the Board of Development will continue, that's something I would like to partnership with. I've listed downtown events that we've budgeted for, and when you see our budget numbers later in the year, take out other than the capital request, we budgeted very flat. It's the line items that I'm responsible for. It was $300 or $400 less than our current fiscal year. I think that's our last slide.
Good presentation. Are there any questions for Doyle? No?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
The next presentation is Olivia with the Public Library. How are you tonight?
All right. Evening, Mayor and Council. Glad to be here tonight. Our first slide with our vision and mission statements. Our focus is, let's see, there we go, is to provide a wide variety of resources and with a key focus on equity. One of the ways we focus on that is to be a sensory-friendly certified facility and our staff. This is done through an international company. They come in and help us label the building, make sure it is a way that someone with sensory needs can approach the building and know what to expect when they come in it. This is provided on their website, and you can find us on there before you come to the library. And then our staff are trained every year, and we were even trained specifically with sensory needs with COVID and how that might work out as patrons come in the building. We have 3 main departments in the library: adult services, children's services, and circulation services. Our adult services staff work the information desk, provide all programming for adults patrons. All the collection development, everything with books and items on the shelves. What do we need to add? What do we need to take away? And general curating of the collections. And maintenance and assistance in our Northeast Texas History and Genealogy Center are all handled by this department. Our children's department handles, also works at the information desk, handles programming for children and teens, and collection development for all children and teen collections in the library. Our circulation department handles the circulation desk right as you come in the library, all processing of materials coming into the library, any repairs of items as needed in the library, and the general collection maintenance on the shelves, keeping everything shelved and in order and patron-friendly. This year we were able to win again the TMLDA Excellence Award. We have to provide services and resources in all of the categories listed here, all 10. This is our 13th consecutive year to receive this award, and it puts us in roughly the top 10% of Texas public libraries. And staff are very proud to have continued to win this during a COVID year and the limitations we experienced with it. Some numbers to date for this year. We have added over 2,800 items to the collection. This is both, this is only physical items. Over 31,000 items have been checked out. That number is our digital collections as well. And over 3,600 items have been used in the library by patrons. We've had over 27,000 patrons visit the library, over 4,000 attend programs, and over 12,500 have been assisted in various locations in the library. So that includes everything from circulation, children's and adult reference, and then genealogy reference as well.
You've been very busy.
Yes. We've provided 124 programs, and over 3,800 computer sessions have been logged. Those are on our physical computers. That reflects over 2,900 hours of computer use, and that is with only half of our computers being available due to social distancing needs until just recently. We've also had over 6,900 Wi-Fi sessions accessed, and that is available 24/7 at the library. These are just a few of our community partners, and most of them we've been able to maintain something through our COVID year, even though our partnerships did look different. For PJC, we offer space for their ESL classes. As the program grew, they just simply didn't have the space. They were actually, part of their classes, the students were meeting in a kitchen area before we said, yes, come to the library, we will figure out where we can put you, provide computers as we can. Their classes went online for this last year, but they are hoping to come back in the fall and use our facility again. We're an event sponsor for the Hunt County Comic Expo. We are the only library to participate in that program, and so we represent literacy and the literacy benefits of being able to read comic books and graphic novels and that type. Both font and breakup on the page can be beneficial to kids with dyslexia and dysgraphia, and can be a real benefit, and we want to make sure people know the legitimacy of that form of reading as well. 4-H of Hunt County is working with us this year and providing much of our programming for the summer. Our theme is Tales and Tales, Tales in Books and Tales on Animals, and they're providing a lot of the animals and expertise to teach kids this summer. We are the community partner with Greenville ISD for the Footsteps to Brilliance program. That's kind of been on pause this last year, but we will continue to work with them on that and be able to provide it to community members and GISD students as needed on our computers. We also partner with Greenville ISD ACE. We're a community partner every year. This year, one of the things we're doing is working with them to put a book vending machine in the STEM school. Hopefully that'll happen a little later this summer. Keep Greenville Beautiful has worked with us for story times, different themes, whether it's not littering or sustainable things that kids can do and recycling. And they also provided trees this year that we could provide to community members, much like the ISD does to their classrooms, but we were able to provide that as a resource for people that don't have access to, through GISD. We also work with the Senior Center Resources and Public Transit, and they every year bus in kids from the Boys and Girls Club to the library for summer events. And we're looking forward to working with them again this summer on that. And we're also hoping to add some technology programs that we'll partner with them this summer on. These are just a few pictures of programs we've done over the last year. For much of the year, we were limited to gatherings of 10 or less. There were no exceptions for events happening in a library space. So much of our program went online or had some other kind of virtual component to them. We focused any in-person events that we had to a specific age group, such as our kids or tweens or teens, or to particular niche interests. In the lower left-hand corner there, you see Coronasaurus Rex, who first joined the library staff in May of last year and helped hand out books for curbside services. A new program we added this year was a bilingual story time. It's provided both in English and in Spanish. A history spotlight program. This is all virtual and available on Facebook. We focus on local Greenville or Hunt County people, places, or events, and that has been extremely popular. We've also added a sensational story time, which is sensory friendly and focuses on whatever sensory input differences and needs the kids may have that come in, whether it's simply needing more space so they can interact or needing to be able to have movement with what they do. And our parents have really appreciated that offering as well. 2 new services we added this year, Newsbank, which is a nationwide newspaper database. This is something our patrons appreciate in general, but it became absolutely necessary during COVID and not being able to allow people into the library and then needing to limit who all could come in the library. So they could now search online, both for the Herald Banner and other North Texas newspapers, and then of course nationwide too. There are papers available. You can access this through our website.
Is there a charge for that?
You do have to be a library patron, but that it is free beyond that, yes.
Okay, but say, I'm just making this up.
Suppose the Los Angeles Times was on that list.
Would you have to subscribe to that to be able to access it?
No, as long as it's in the database, you can search any of the years that are available.
Okay.
We also added mobile printing, something else that is a great convenience for our patrons, but absolutely necessary as we are trying to prevent close contact with patrons and shared contact surfaces during COVID. And this can be used from anywhere. You can send items from home or from mobile devices via email, a place on our website, or for a mobile app that you can download. The library was able to partner with ARP Tax Aid to provide tax services at the library again this year. We were also able to do this in person. This is because library staff were really determined to help make this happen and took over the appointment-making process. We were not able to take walk-ins due to ARP's COVID-19 procedures, and this was really the only way to make that happen. And we had people coming in from all over, calls from Texarkana and the DFW area, and people driving hours to come see us for the in-person service. It's estimated just in the Dallas area alone that 38 or 39 locations that normally provide service weren't doing it at all, much less in person. So this was a real niche need to the community this year. We scheduled over 550 appointments, and almost 500 returns were filed at the library. Okay, June 22nd marks our 25-year anniversary in this building of the library. Our very first library was actually from 1900. Didn't have its own building. It was in a downtown building and shared the space. But in 1904 is when we got our Carnegie Library, and that May Moulton Harrison was integral to that process, and she is actually the mother of our namesake, W. Walworth Harrison. So the library is definitely a family affair for them. In 1954, we went to the Lee Street building that everyone knows so well, and that's the picture with the flag there in the lower left-hand corner. And in 1996, we went to the building that we're in today. It's 24,000 square feet, designed specifically to be a library. And in 2003, they added the historical marker you see there in the center to honor the history of libraries in Greenville. Our capital request this year is additional shelving for the library to accommodate our growing need for space for items. Our cost includes additional shelves and moving the shelves we have to accommodate them in our space and the shape of our space. All the spacing, when they're done, will be ADA compliant, and it could cost up to the $65,000 with the potential extra fees for steel. For next year, we hope to have a special focus on Spanish language needs of our community. That will include our bilingual books, but for all ages and reading levels. What is it that our community needs, and how can we adjust to balance that in the library? For programs, we want to have a special focus on technology skills and functionality of personal devices and how to operate them. For our facility, we will have a focus on shelving preparation. To get this new shelving in will require moving some of our smaller shelves, like is pictured here, the shorter ones. And so we'll be prepping the space and the collection because we hope to only shut down a few shelves at a time and operate the rest of the library around these additions to the library. So that will take some planning and coordination. We also hope to add a computer lab area, probably in the back next to the genealogy center. And this will be in addition to our public computer stations. This would be for instruction and programming and just to have a more appropriate space designed for that purpose. For future plans, Census data is really going to drive where the library needs to go in terms of numbers, size for budget, both overall budget and our collection development budget, number of staff we have in the building, number of public use computers we have, and even just our general space that we use for all purposes in the library, for service and for storage and workspace. And those are due to come out in later this fall. And once we get those numbers, we can really start seeing where we head with this, because it is specified per capita as standards for public libraries in Texas. That's all I have, and I'm happy to take y'all's questions.
Thank you very much. You provide such a broad spectrum of services to our community. It's just astounding to me.
That what you do. Are there any questions from the council?
Yes, I noticed, I call them book houses, the little book huts that are, there's one at, I think it's Crescent Church.
Mm-hmm.
Are those located throughout the town or just on certain parts of the town?
They are located throughout the town and throughout Hunt County, and they're run by Hunt County United Way.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of questions, if you don't mind, Olivia. The $65,000 in shelving, is that to replace existing shelving, or is that additional?
Additional shelving.
Okay.
So the only thing we're doing with our current shelving is moving it to accommodate that new shelving.
Okay. And it'll still be utilized even after you move it?
Yes.
Okay. I was also curious, you mentioned bilingual programs. What will the nature of those programs be?
Right now, our program is a story time, so it is still set up like a standard one. We have a theme and books that go with that theme, and then activities that revolve around that, but we're making sure to provide it in both languages.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, that completes our work session items on the work session agenda. And at this time, we're going to go in executive session under section 551.074, paragraph 1. Are we going to meet in here? Or are we going to meet? That's available, right? Okay. So we'll be back at 6 o'clock.
The recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. 455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right parts to keep your vehicle running, and backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.